And still. So, boys, Volk, he gets through Yair Rodríguez, third round TKO after a spear tackle, 4 weeks to the judiciary for that one.
Big takedown.
He's very good at fighting, isn't he, Volkanovski?
Yeah.
A little bit after the fact with Llia Topuria. Let's talk about the fight first. He had him pretty much measured up. What was your take on that one, Shauna?
Yeah, I think I said it in the preview. Rodríguez has that scary kind of abilities. Like, will he surprise Volk with something? You saw him throw some interesting shit, and Volk was just too up to it. He was really never phased or worried about any of that. Just played his game plan. Could really take him down at will and just beat him up when he wanted to. So. And that's pretty much a story of Volk's career at the moment, where you look at some of these guys, say he's fought, what they look like post fight, and you say, not good. He's done his work, and there's not much left for him in that division, as you mentioned before. Whether he takes another fight in the featherweight division with a guy kind of middle rank that's coming up. Undefeated at the moment, or does he again go push his chances at say lightweight? Try to take on Islam. I think Islam said he was injured, so he could be out. I've seen jokes with the big news today with Hill having to renege the light heavyweight belt. But Volk's going to go up and fight for that.
At light heavyweight,
light heavyweight.
Why not?
Yeah, put on the weight, but I think he can really do what he wants now. He's got that belt, and he should probably push for some competitive fights in the lightweight division. Yep. He's the longest title reign. I think he's over 1,300 days worth of a title reign at the moment. So he's just dominant.
That's absolutely wild.
Great for Australian champion.
Just looking at the stats here, he had 149 total strikes against 57, 7 takedowns to nil, and then 66 significant strikes against 40. Yeah. So irrespective of a knockout, just absolutely dominated.
And one could argue they let that fight go 20 seconds too long as well when he was on top.
Yeah.
We got to talk about it. Obviously, we're biased. Is he the best pound-for-pound fighter in the world?
I think Jones is probably for me, Jones is one, but I have been watching Jones fight since he came into the UFC. But Volk's very, very close to that, and I think his work recently and his work rate probably helps as well because he's fought twice already this year.
Yep. Yeah, twice. Yep.
Yeah, and fights quite regularly. Has a great resume for what he does. So it's fair for him to be pound for pound number one. And
whereas Jones obviously going up a weight division,
took 3 years off.
Hadn't fought for
has one win, but also not over the current champ like he had. He's not the linear champ, as you will, and we'll talk about that later on. But I just think John Jones for mine is. John Jones is probably the best fighter in the world. So, Volk's in the pound-for-pound rankings is fair to be number one.
Yeah. So, after the weekend, he is number one for the moment.
Well, it's equal.
Tied
one there with John Jones on that one.
I didn't realise that one. But I suppose the only thing against John Jones is he's only had that one fight in the last couple of years. So,
and on him, they did announce the Stipe fight. That's in October, I think, now. So, that's good to see. And that's a massive fight to see. But also for Stipe, I think he hasn't fought in 2 years.
Yeah,
so it's a big layoff for him too.
How old is he? He must be 40.
Yeah, getting close to it. Whereas John Jones is still early 30s, which is crazy to think
about. Wild. I think there's a reasonable argument for Volk to be the best pound-for-pound fighter in the world.
Agree.
Stipe is 40 years old.
There you go. Yeah. Young lion like John Jones coming back. It's going to be a tough one.
Last fought March 2021.
That's
that is 2 years.
2 years and a bit.
Yep.
What are our thoughts with Llia Topuria mouthing off post-fight? Obviously, a good record leading into this. If he does get the Volk fight, I think Volk said something along the lines of, I'll stomp him.
Yeah.
Thoughts?
Yeah, well, I think from what we're seeing from Volk, that's probably accurate, so we'll take that. But, if there's a featherweight fight to make at the moment, that's the one because he just came off his victory a couple of weeks ago. So
Piece up Josh Emmett, I think.
yeah, exactly. So, that if they want to make another fight in the featherweight, that makes the most sense. But I think Volk's kind of at that point where he's a big enough star. There's some talk about getting him on that card here in Australia in a couple of weeks' time. I think UFC 293, which is a huge turnaround. But we'll talk about Faf not Faf Duplessis. We're fighting Israel on that card. So that's in 8 weeks. So it's
who would he fight?
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Who's going to be ready in that time frame? Like, it's either rush through a featherweight fight, or because I think Islam's hurt at the moment and he's not going to fight until end of the year, if not next.
Before we get to not Faf, let's talk about the little fellas in Alexandre Pantoja and Brandon Moreno. This one went to split decision.
Yep.
For mine, it was a pretty clear winner. What do we think?
Yeah, and if you look at it, the split decision, the other bloke gave 4 rounds to Moreno. So, which, by all accounts, is like you don't give him 4 rounds in that fight.
No.
It was a competitive war. They fought very hard, but I think it's pretty clear who won that, which is pretty impressive considering Alexandre, he had been, I think, an Uber Eats driver 2 years ago.
Wow.
He won a fight a year or so ago and got a 50K bonus, and that's where he essentially dedicated himself to the UFC. So, to go from that far to the featherweight, I think is excellent because since Mighty Mouse, I think 4 champions or something like that. So adds another one to the list. Because it's between, it was him, Figgy, then I think it was Cejudo and Mighty Mouse were the 4. So for a division that's been on the precipice of dying for a very long time, it's great to see some more challenges in there, some more names getting pushed in it. So, I think it was a great win from him in a great back and forth battle, a bit of a fight, a bit of a war. So it was good. And Brazil has a champion again.
Well, big for Brazil.
Yes. Yeah.
You think about fighting, you think about mixed martial arts, you think about Brazilian jiu-jitsu, and the fact that Brazil has a champion, I think it's big for the sport.
Yep.
It's unusual that there was this period where there was no Brazilian championship, champion, if you would, between the Nunes retirement and obviously Pantoja getting the win on the weekend. And in the men's, the likes of Glover, the likes of Charles, the likes of Figgy, all succumbing to giving up their belts in the last few years. So Brazil does have a champion once again. Got to talk about this. It's
Faf, yeah.
Look, it wasn't a title fight, boys, but it may as well have been in terms of the significance of what's going on in terms of the middleweight division and the words that were exchanged after this fight. Dricus Duplessis, he did pace up Robert Whittaker.
Yeah, knocked him out.
Credit to where credit's due. But perhaps the biggest talking point of the evening was the words in the octagon after the fight.
Yeah.
What were our thoughts there?
Israel's been in the media and wanted, this result. This is what he wanted as his next fight. I think the hyping up of the fight's fine. I think the language used is probably where it went a little bit over the board, especially in a pay-per-view that, live event. The reports of kind of like trying to goad your opponent into saying certain words as well.
It was baiting, I thought.
Yeah. But credit to Drake because he didn't really take any of that, and they'll go back and forth in the media leading up to this fight, which by all accounts will probably be at UFC 293 when they do it in Australia, but that is an 8-week turnaround, so they're going to sort that out rather soon if it's going to be the case. On the fight itself, I think it's probably the worst fight I've seen Whittaker fight in a long time. Really didn't seem up for us, but he also has a bit of an issue that his chin just isn't the same as what it was post the Yoel Romero fights. So he's always, even against Israel, there's always that moment where he gets tagged with one and he gets dropped and you're like, oh, shit, here we go again. And, kind of fell through in this one with Dricus being a very strong lad at the middleweight division. So, it'll be an interesting fight for Israel, but I'm not sure if it's just too quick of a fast tracking for him, but we'll see.
Your thoughts, Max?
So after that win, Dricus does jump 4 spots up to that number 1 contender. I don't know, rightfully so, but has Izzy sort of drunk the Kool-Aid a little bit too much? Is he...
Don't know.
Too much. Yeah, I don't know. It's definitely an interesting fight. They obviously got very, very different builds. Whether that leads into a different fighting style, I'm probably not too sure.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm just not a huge fan of the heritage kind of rhetoric and
it was gross.
Considering Israel fought as a Chinese fighter for most of his pride careers, he was like, well, his K1 career, sorry, his kickboxing career. He was like,
yeah, and that's why I'm not
sure this is the right angle, bro.
Yeah, and that's why I sort of went to the point is he sort of drinking his own Kool-Aid a little bit? Is he just a little bit too?
Whatever sells fights.
Yeah, and I mean that's it as well. He obviously knows how to market himself, market the UFC. He's a style bender for a reason. He's always going to have that flair and try and drum up some controversy. The obvious person you think about when in doing that is obviously Conor McGregor as well.
Yeah, that's a good point.
It's the business that they're in as much as punching each other in the face. It's marketing.
Yeah, but he only went after their religion and their missuses. So it's only small things.
Yeah,
nothing worse.
Nothing at all. Nothing at all. Yeah. It is interesting. Obviously talking about Izzy as well. Still going on about that mega fight between Elon Musk and Mark Zuckerberg posted during the week.
I got this.
Izzy, he's ripped. Yeah,
he is also 15 years younger or something. than Musk. He will have a significant size disadvantage, but I think the skill and the training will probably be the difference.
Yeah, I mean, grappling against world champion in Israel Adesanya over the week, real or not, it's some of those photos of Israel, Zach and Volk as well, sparring is pretty formidable.
Let's wrap up the main card. Dan Hooker getting the win against Jalin Turner via split decision. Did you guys see the X-rays of the hangman after this one?
Yeah, definitely.
Might be out for a little bit.
Clean break of the ulnar, clean orbital bone. We'll talk about it pre-show. We think maybe it's orbital, maybe it's not.
Bit more jaw, but
essentially clean break in his forearm and a clean break in his face, and it was a scratch according to the hangman. Good to see him back in the winners' circles. Obviously lost to the biggest names that there is in the lightweight division, and no one can question the bloke's toughness, that's for sure.
Yeah, and really helps. 2 on the trot sounds a lot better than 1 from your last 5. So, and, it was very much in that conversation of it was he on his way out of the UFC. Getting 2 wins really helps put you back in the conversation, get your ranking back at the 10th. So, hopefully he doesn't end up being the gatekeeper he kind of is at the moment. Getting like a young talent and Turner and pushing him away, or getting smashed by the top tier guys, like get stuck there. Hopefully, he can push himself back into the top of the lightweight division. But other than that, it was a pretty tough fight for him. It looked like Turner. Like, how did he eat Turner's head kick? I will never know, but he did and fought through it, and it was a big tough fight.
And what do you reckon about Bo Nickal? The bloke, he's been talked up by the UFC.
Crushes cans, bro.
Cans to be crushed. And credit to Val Woodburn for taking this fight on a week's notice at most. But Bo Nickal, it seems, would be the real deal. He's got that real kind of country boy strength, some might say.
Oh, he's got a huge wrestling background.
Background. He's 5-0. He doesn't have a ranking, so
He needs one. He needs a ranking. He needs to fight some ranked dudes now.
he deserves a ranking, from what I can see.
Yep. Yeah, well, they put him on. He's been on the back end of the pay-per-views for, I think, his last 3 fights. So he's definitely a star that they know is going to be coming through the middleweight division. Just a question of how quickly they want to push him through. But, yeah, 38-second knockouts in the first round is light work.
So dominant.
Yeah. The shortest fighter in UFC history. The minus, I think it got to minus 3,333 when it was the last one I saw. So
Very, very short. I think it was the shortest in history. Did you see on this card as well the amount of first round finishes there was?
Yeah, lots. 5, yeah.
Undercard, we got to talk about Ruthless Robbie.
Yeah, his retirement fight. So getting the big knockout there of Nico Price.
He was the underdog in this one.
Yep. Yeah, he'd had a bit of an up and down back end of his career, but it was a great way to see him finish off his career with a very classic Robbie knockout.
Hangs his gloves up with pride. Robbie Lawler, future UFC Hall of Famer.
Oh, definitely.
Given everything for the sport. We have to talk about the Aussies, obviously being Aussies down here. Jimmy Crute goes down to Alenzo Menefield. I think that was via submission.
Submission, yeah.
And Jack Della Maddalena missed out on the fight against Sean Brady.
He fights Sunday.
Yep.
So they found him a replacement.
On UFC Vegas 77, Basil Hafiz. He's on the undercard to Holm versus Silva.
Yep.
So hopefully backs up well and gets a win there.
On Jimmy Crute, I think he, some retirement chat, but I think he said he's going to take some time away from the sport, kind of reevaluate because he was kind of fast tracked. He was up there in the light heavyweight division rankings, and then as you do, you run into some really talented dudes and lost his way a little bit, lost his confidence. So hopefully he can go away and find that.